It's April 10th, 2025. The hysteria is kind of dying down a little bit, and suddenly remains are found in Killingly, Connecticut. And this is where the point of elevation really starts to happen in Connecticut and Rhode Island with talk of a serial murderer. The remains found in Killingly, Connecticut were found in the woods near some railroad tracks near Woodward Street. The remains have since been identified as a male between the age of 25 and 45 years old, 5'8" tall. The National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, NAMIS, indicates the man was either Caucasian or African American. The death is estimated to have happened in either 2024 or 2025. 2 weeks prior, Michelle Romano is found in Forster, Rhode Island. And I'm going to put up a map so that you can see that there is only about 8 to 10 miles between the remains found in Killingly, Connecticut, and Michelle Romano's remains. And this is where everybody in Rhode Island that I know starts buzzing. It's absolutely incredible. When I call home, I was asking around, calling people, asking what they thought, because word on the street was there's a potential serial murderer possibly running around Connecticut and Rhode Island. And I got a mixed bag at this point. Half the people that I spoke to, half of my relatives were like, you know the area. You know that we are dense in population, and you know that they're always finding a body here or a body there. For whatever reason, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a psychopath running around taking people out. And the other half of the family that I talked to, especially the women in my family, were like, yeah, I don't know, maybe, possibly. I'm walking around with mace, so we're not going out without the buddy system. I'm only going out during broad daylight, and I'm only doing the things I have to do until this is resolved, because I'm really uncomfortable. And I do have a relative that lives in the Forster area, and word on the street was there's high tension with the citizens in the area, and doors and windows are being locked at night and head on a swivel, and people are taking note of oddities. And this is all happening around the discovery of the remains in Killingly, Connecticut, in conjunction to Michelle Romano's remains being found in the Forster area. Now, at this point, Michelle's family members that are being questioned and asked about her potentially being part of this psychopath's murderous rampage, they're still in the camp of, no, we don't believe that Michelle can be put into this category of the serial murder situation. It's still April 10th. It's a little later on in the day. And news reports start coming out of Framingham, Massachusetts, that another body has been found inside a residence. And we discover that 27-year-old Brooks Hood, who is a resident of Bridgeport, Connecticut, was in fact found in a Fenwick Street home with apparent trauma, and the police have deemed Brooks's passing as suspicious. So now, on the same day that there is a discovery of remains in Killingly, Connecticut, we have another set of remains found inside a home in Framingham, Massachusetts. And this is where, in the timeline, that people are going to start really connecting the skull from Plymouth, Massachusetts. And the scope of the hysteria about a potential serial murderer is going to now start spanning in the general public sphere, as there is a serial murderer running around Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts. April 14th, and unfortunately the body of Sophie Nwidi, I can't pronounce her name right, I am very, very sorry for that. It's either Nwidi or Nwidi, former child actress, was found in a wooded area near Roaring Branch River on a riverbank near a makeshift shelter in Bennington, Vermont. Sophie was 24 years old and pregnant. She was known to self-medicate, and Sophie has been deemed, while the investigation to her death is still ongoing, she's been removed, in my opinion, from the bodies that are linked to a potential serial murderer situation in New England. Her family did a beautiful tribute to her at her funeral, and Sophie was known to self-medicate to ease some trauma, and she was with a gentleman, and he is not a suspect in Sophie's passing. So for the purposes of the potential serial murderer in southern New England, I am going to rule Sophie's passing out as a tragic, accidental death of a wonderful human being. Also, on April 20th, we're back up in Framingham, where a body is discovered behind Shoppers World. We had on the 10th, we had a body discovered in a Fenwick Street apartment in Framingham. And now, April 20th, 10 days later, there is a body that is discovered behind Shoppers World. And that was the remains of Anthony Jr. Lopez, 30 years old. He was an employee of Hot Table Restaurant in the mall. And he was found, unfortunately, in the trash area behind Shoppers World. The police have stated that there was multiple shot blunt force injuries to his body. They have declared Anthony Jr. Lopez as a homicide. Anthony Lopez's family believes he was actually targeted. And later on in the day, a police statement will come out on April 20th that the Framingham Police Department do not think that the deaths of Brooks Hood and Anthony Jr. Lopez are connected. They think it's completely separate situations. But the people of Framingham are actually not convinced at this point. Everybody's seeing connections. There's a lot of bodies piling up, so to say. And the general public is absolutely starting to, at this point, in that southern New England area, they're starting to lose confidence in what they're being told. So while the news isn't directly saying anything about a serial murderer, word on the street is it's not safe in this particular area of southern New England at this juncture. April 20th, and now there's excitement in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, because another body is found. There was a body pulled from the Seekonk River in Pawtucket on April 20th. There's really not a lot of information about this, just the general police statement. It was near the Festival Pier boat launch and I-95 bridge in the vicinity of 21 Division Street. And that is all the information that we have on that body. That body is going to be deemed body number 8. So we are on April 20th, and now we are up to what the general public is declaring as the 8th body that is being found in New England. April 25th, 2025. Now, hindsight's 2020. So what we did not know on April 25th was 2 Massachusetts police departments were going to have busy days. The Springfield, Massachusetts Police Department and the Taunton, Massachusetts Police Department. In Springfield, Massachusetts, Megan Meredith, 45 years old, was found in an area of Springfield's Riverfront Park. She was found unresponsive and later passed away. Her cause of death is now being listed as homicide. This is an active investigation in Springfield, Massachusetts to this day, as is Joanne Gorelli's homicide. I'm going to put up a map to show you the distance between where in January 7th of 2025, Joanne Gorelli was found, and the proximity as to where 45-year-old Megan Meredith was found. It is a very close proximity. There has been gossip on the Facebook pages about how eerily similar the 2 women's remains were when they were found. So Springfield, Massachusetts has both of these cases open. And in Springfield, Massachusetts, the buzz really is starting to become, we may have a potential hunting ground. It's still April 2025, and we just saw the distance proximity from where Megan Meredith was found to way back in January, on January 7th, Joanne Gorelli was found. It's about 10 to 13 minute drive time between both of those murder scenes. Now we're going to go from Springfield, Massachusetts, about 1 hour and 45 minutes down to Taunton, Massachusetts, which is closer to Rhode Island in proximity. It's kind of right there. And that is where a body is going to be discovered. Samuel Stovall, he's 51 years old, and was found in the water of Mill River behind 43 Chandler Avenue in Taunton, Massachusetts. That's right around a high school that is in Taunton. And he was discovered by walkers in the area. Now, what won't come out for a few days is that Samuel was a homeless man, and he was well known to the police department, and they will deem Samuel's passing as not suspicious. So at this time, on the 25th of April, word is really getting out because people are starting, especially in that area, they're starting to connect the distances. And it's not unheard of to get from point A to point B in a relatively normal amount of time for anybody who lives down in that area with congestion. It's a normal drive. It's like an hour and 45 minutes, possibly 2 hours and 20 minutes with traffic. So people are really starting to look at the area of southern New England. And at this time, Sophie, her death was still being buzzed about, and that was in Vermont. So now the people in Vermont are starting to get nervous because everybody is in a few hour proximity of something going on. And this entire time, they are being told by the various police departments that, there's nothing to worry about, nothing to see here, folks. Like I said, April is very, very busy as far as the bodies piling up in the areas. April 29th, again in Taunton, Massachusetts, another body will be discovered, and that is the body of Stephen Myers. He was 39 years old. He was found behind Plymouth High School in Taunton, Massachusetts. Remember, 4 days earlier, Samuel's body was taken out of the river, and that was also within a proximity to Plymouth High School in Taunton, Massachusetts. Now, everybody is freaking out at this point that I'm talking to in my family that live in the Rhode Island, Massachusetts area. And now we have 2 bodies found in Taunton, Massachusetts in relatively the same proximity. Stephen Myers was found at a construction site, and Samuel Stovall was found in the river. So we're going to find out on June 6th that we can rule Stephen Myers out, but it's going to take from April 29th to June 6th to completely rule Stephen Myers out of the potential situation of a serial murderer. Now, on June 6th, there was an arrest made in Stephen Myers' death, and that was of 39-year-old David Jones. He was charged with murder, and that's all the information we have on the Stephen Myers case. They're working on it, and I personally, because somebody has confessed to murder, I am not putting Stephen in with the potential of a serial murderer situation in New England. I know a lot of the Facebook groups are still leaving him in the discussion. I'd like to take Stephen out of the discussion. Now we're in May, and May was another month where bodies were being found all over the generalized area once again. And on May 1st, there was a body found in the Piscataqua River. That is the river that borders Maine and New Hampshire. And this is how Maine is getting dragged into the discussion of a potential serial murderer. Turns out, unfortunately, that that body was male, and that person actually dove off of the Piscataqua River Bridge of their own volition, and that is a very sad tragedy. And when you go into the Facebook group discussions and you go on discussion boards, they're still wanting to put this tragedy into the mix, and I am absolutely ruling this tragedy that happened on the Piscataqua River out on May 1st. May 2nd, and we find ourselves back in Connecticut, New Haven, Connecticut. The body of Naisha Mendez, 35, of New Haven, Connecticut, was found in the sprawling Evergreen Cemetery. She was actually stabbed to the end. And at that time, on May 2nd, she was being put into the potential serial murderer situation. It is later found out that Naisha Mendez was actually murdered by Edwin Arroyo Roman. And he has been arrested, and he has confessed to Naisha's murder. And it was all over a $700 debt. He claims that she owed him $700. And during the course of the police interview with Edwin Roman, he confessed to 3 other murders. So I am taking the murder of Naisha Mendez out of the mix of the potential serial murder situation that is going on in New England, and I will be following this case as it unfolds in New Haven, Connecticut.